All right, this is not my not my rabbit hole live stream take two because the last one I forgot to have myself in the studio. Oh, I get a big gong for that. Oh, you know what? Let me give myself a second gong. Let me get. Oh, uh, in the last stream. Oh, is this stuck? Wait. Oh. In the last stream, I must be tired. I must just be tired. I think that's what it is. In the last stream, I was well. There was Aiken and there was Pavona, and then Sarin came in. Hopefully, they'll find me back here again on the second stream. And I started out with some, Grim Grit, some words from Grim Grit. So as people are coming back in, I'm going to replay that portion of my show that I had before. And I see a couple people have rejoined. So welcome back. I just thought, you know what? Let me just start over because there's things that I want to say that I said that I thought I said really good. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to say them all over again. But yeah, I'll say them again. But in the meantime, I'm going to play this as everybody comes in.
Oh, look at that. Look at them. Melting down in real time, notifications exploding, voices cracking, emotions hemorrhaging all over their timelines while you're sitting there, calm, collected, blueprints spread across your desk, mapping out empires they don't even know exist yet. They're having full-blown existential crises, and you're literally scheduling your next conquest like it's a Tuesday morning coffee run. Beautiful, isn't it? The way their chaos has become your background noise. The way their screams have become elevator music to your ascension. They wanted your attention so badly, begged for it, manufactured crisis after crisis just to get you to look their way. But you stopped watching their circus the moment you realized you were building stadiums they could never fill. Let's get surgical with this truth, because you need to hear it said out loud with no sugar, no mercy, just facts. While they're out there performing emotional gymnastics, posting cryptic quotes about betrayal, vague booking about loyalty, having literal meltdowns in group chats about who said what to who, you're 3 moves ahead, building in silence, executing in darkness, winning in dimensions they don't even know exist. They're screaming into voids, hoping you'll echo back, but you've already soundproofed your kingdom. They're throwing tantrums on stages you've abandoned, putting on shows for audiences that don't include you anymore. And that drives them absolutely insane, because their entire strategy was built on one assumption: that you'd care, that you'd react, that you'd engage. But you didn't. You vanished into focus. You disappeared into discipline. You ghost them with purpose. Here's what they don't understand about people like you. Your silence isn't weakness, it's warfare. Your absence isn't retreat, it's strategy. While they're burning energy on drama, you're investing it in domination. They think you're ignoring them, but you're not ignoring anything. You're just prioritizing everything they'll never be important enough to interrupt. They wanted to be your distraction, your downfall, your breaking point, but instead they became your motivation, your fuel, the exact reason you decided to build something so magnificent that their noise would sound like whispers in a hurricane. Every second they spent trying to get your attention was a second you spent getting closer to unreachable. Every message they sent that you didn't answer was another brick in the fortress they'll never breach. Every time they said your name, hoping you'd defend yourself, you were out there making moves that would make your name legendary. You know what's driving them to the edge right now, like literally pushing them toward madness. It's not that you're winning. People can handle other people winning if they're loud about it, flashy, braggy, posting every victory like it needs a press release. No, what's destroying them is that you're winning quietly, silently, invisibly. They can't see your scoreboard, can't track your progress, can't measure your growth, and that absence of information is killing them slowly, methodically, like poison in slow motion. They're used to people who announce every move, broadcast every plan, celebrate every tiny win like it's the Super Bowl, but you move like a shadow government, operating in classified silence, executing missions they don't discover until the victory parade is already over. They keep waiting for you to post about your success, to brag about your progress, to give them something. Anything they can criticize, diminish, or compete with, but you give them nothing. Just silence. Just results they can't deny but can't comprehend. And let's talk about why their meltdowns are so specifically violent right now, so particularly unhinged. It's because they finally realized something that's been creeping up on them like dread in the dark. They realized you were never playing their game. All this time, while they were fighting for territory on their battlefield, you were building your own continent. While they were arguing about who's king of the hill, you were purchasing mountains. They thought you were competition, a rival, someone in their league just doing better. But no, you were never in their league. You were never even playing their sport. You were in a completely different dimension of ambition. And the moment that truth crystallized in their minds, that's when the meltdowns started. Because now they understand. You didn't beat them. You transcended them. You didn't win their game. You made their game irrelevant. Think about it. Really sit with this for a second. While they were crafting the perfect comeback, you were crafting the perfect comeback plan for the next 5 years. While they were arguing in comments sections, you were building revenue streams. While they were defending their reputation to people who don't matter, you were building a legacy that won't need defending. While they were emotionally investing in beef, you were financially investing in empires, different mindsets, different timelines, different destinies. They're operating on drama time, where everything is urgent, everything is a crisis, everything needs immediate response. But you're operating on empire time, where patience is power, silence is strength, and the only urgency is the urgency to build something they'll study in business schools while you're retired on islands they can't pronounce. Here's the part that's really twisting the knife in their sanity. They can see you thriving, but they can't see how. They can see the results, but can't reverse engineer the process. They can see you ascending, but can't find the staircase. It's like watching someone fly when you don't believe in airplanes. Their entire worldview is collapsing because you're violating every rule they thought was universal.
And welcome to the show. I'm going to go ahead and play my theme song here. We'll be right back.
He ain't no Saint Germain, no crown, no name. He plays the game sharp as a flame. Who's to blame for the stolen fame? A shadow dance in the devil's frame. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on a stripper pole. Laughing loud, all for the lulz, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. City lights inside scream, truth and lies blend like a dream. Wicked smiles, a clever scheme, chasing gold in the neon gleam. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud, all for the lulz, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. Fast, can't find the ground. Echoes of chaos all around. You chose this dance, this mad parade, but not every choice gets accolades. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud, all for the lulz, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. Spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud, all for the lulz, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. City lights and sirens scream, truth and lies blend like a dream. Wicked smiles, a clever scheme, chasing gold in the neon gleam. Going down the rabbit hole, losing control, Spinning wild on the stripper pole, laughing loud all for the lows. But baby, that's not my rabbit hole.
All right. Welcome to day 2 of my spring break. I'm still in I'm sort of like relaxation. I'm getting over the big push for all the assignments I had to have done before the spring break happened. So I'm a little bit burnt out, and that's probably why that I didn't have my mic on. I didn't have, and obviously I don't have my camera on. I wasn't wearing makeup, and you'll see the little tiny thing, that I haven't done my hair. There's no hair and makeup this morning. I don't have to. It's Sunday. It's Sunday. It's no hair and makeup day. Sunday, fun day. Oh, let's give a round of applause for that. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I watched a little bit of Denise today, and it's pretty sad, actually. I find, and I'm going to just say a few things. This is the reason why I'm playing this, and I want to reiterate some stuff. I want to point it out again. I pointed out this so many times. In fact, it has been included in some of what I'm going to say right now is actually included in the State News article about the lawsuit that Thomas Schoenberger has with Laura Dilley over her 17 Anon research paper. All right. And all of this pretty much took place in 2024. In fact, right around December of 2023, I was doing a live stream on the Club Shay Shay interview of Cat Williams, where he talks about Puff Daddy and stuff like that. And on that night when I was streaming, maybe this was January, this was 2024, not 2023, because I was already back at work for that semester. And there's an account, it went by the name Anon, and I've talked about Anon quite a bit in relation to Denise and some of the other people that have, been talking shit about me on their YouTube channels, pretty much, with Thomas Schoenberger, and doxing me with Thomas Schoenberger, and calling my job in association with Thomas Schoenberger. By the way, Thomas Schoenberger has contacted the community college that I was attending at one time, and the journalism department back then. And he also emailed my last job when I was I was a senior reporter for the Collegian, and he emailed the dean of the journalism department about me just this last fall. So Thomas Schoenberger has also stepped into my personal life in an attempt to maliciously defame me and ruin my opportunities to have a job and for survival. Okay, that's a fact. And, I don't know, maybe the FBI can't do anything about what Thomas Schoenberger does on the internet, but I'm pretty sure that a lawsuit could actually be in order, could actually happen. That I feel at this point, and I don't know how I'm going to get the money to, get the lawsuit, or afford something like this, because they know somebody like me as a student, improving their life, a person who went back to college at a later age in their life to improve their life and give them skills to work in the workforce in a different way, which is like the American way, right? And yet I have someone like a Denise Matteau not only spreading malicious defamation, but after this Anon character, this Anon account came into my account, said my professor's name that I tutor for, and said that I was going to get in trouble. The next day, Denise Matteau called my job and made up lies that she's going to be saying in this video right now, that I was grooming children, that I had my own, making child porn, that I was grooming teenagers at the college. She called with the intent for me to lose my job. And she continues to lie about me and make up things on her channel, her new channel. She lost 2 of them. She lost one of them for sure for anti-Semitism. I know that for sure. And she's lost the ability of one of her Twitter accounts was taken down for the same reasons. So Denise has, not only does Denise have a history of anti-Semitism on the internet, but Kiwi Farms, which is a hate website that was taken down off of Cloudflare, you can still find it. They are talking and supporting, because white supremacists collect on that channel. They are in support of what Denise Matteau says, her anti-Semitic remarks. They support it. Let me take this like another step further. I know I'm like, what's happening here? I'm just giving you a background on this person that I'm going to play here in just a second. We have another guy named David Schurter out there flapping his mouth. He's talking today, right? Well, he used a white nationalist as a source that gave him the Kiwi Farm link as a source against the fact that Gabe Hoffman is guilty of what David Schurter accuses him, which is being a neo-Nazi satanic pedophile, which he's also accused me of being, as well as supporting. Either you are a supporter of pedophiles or you are a pedophile yourself. And none of these people have shown any evidence for any of their accusations about any of us. And if it is evidence, it's actually misrepresented and twisted to make it look like it's something that it's not. And they do not care to correct that fact, not one bit. And I'm going to say this because it needs to be said. And, recently I have a short video about it. But QAnon Sec, which involves Titus Frost and Chris McGimsey Jones. Chris McGimsey Jones is on the board of directors for Cicada 3301, which Thomas Schoenberger is the co-founder of. Titus Frost just recently interviewed Thomas Schoenberger, but you know what? It's biased because he's compromised. You want to know why? In more ways than one in that interview. Because he is a proprietor to QAnon Sec, which has cryptocurrency attached to it, just like now the Cicada puzzle does. So he has a financial tie with Titus Frost, Chris McGimsey Jones, and yet with somebody who is on the board of directors with Thomas Schoenberger on the Cicada 3301 website. So he is biased in his agreements in pushing of Thomas Schoenberger's lies and narrative about someone like me and other people. And not only has Titus Frost been involved with that on that level, but he also was involved with the harassment of me with Denise Matteau at the same time that Denise Matteau was called my job, and perpetuated and harassed me using Pepe the Frog, which in some circles is considered an anti-Semitic symbol and is considered with right wing. Right? Titus Frost doxed where I was going to school at on his website. And you know that green picture that Blazing Scar uses when my face is painted green? That comes from them. And recently, when I was dabbling some research on David Schurter's connection to Isaac Cappy in terms of media and this and that, all of a sudden, a archive of all of Denise Matteau's videos that she did, and during the time where she was talking about my supervisor poorly, because they wrote her up. The campus police wrote her up for what she did to me, number one. because they already knew what I was going through. I'd already talked to campus police because I was already being threatened by Denise and by other people to meet me personally. So when Denise called, she just proved what I said that she might do, and she did. I warned them a year before Denise called that Denise might be calling them, because I knew that it was her MO, and she was starting to threaten it back then. Denise has harassed me with another person, another website, another profile that uses my legal name as their name in the handle, anon, doxing me, doxing my family members, Thomas Schoenberger sharing it, and that particular profile being in Blazing Scars chat and praising Thomas Schoenberger. And the Thomas Schoenberger wants to walk away and act like he's not linked to the harassment. Thomas Schoenberger and Titus Frost and Chris McGimsey Jones and Denise Matteau collectively doxed and harassed me and cyberstalked me. And I will say it over and over and over again because it's exactly what happened. Okay? Hi, Sarin. So now we're going to take a look at Denise today.
Well, hello, whoever, wherever, whenever you are, wherever you're here, however you got here, whatever you're doing here. Thank you for showing up. Welcome. And thank you for showing up. And I hope you stay a while. Yes, Denise Matteau here. Couple of things are going on that are finally shining a light into why certain people, a certain group of people, Terry Joyce, these people around the Australian predator contingent, people like Aussie John, Telly, some of the UK people, but mostly the Americans, Sewertown, the known pedophile criminals in it, being Daniel Dowd and Ed Stairs. One was charged.
Okay, so she's going to go into Daniel Dowd and Ed Stairs and a few other people. Let me see if I can, if the transcript is here, because I really sometimes, like, when I listen to Denise, I just get even like more traumatized in a way about like some of the things that she ends up saying about people and stuff. And I don't want to traumatize other people from like what she, yeah, good. The transcripts here. I'm going to take a look at, the transcripts. So she, shoot. Actually, it's not going the way I want it to, but I might skip it ahead a little bit. Here we go.
With aggravated sexual assault of an 8-year-old girl.
Okay, so she goes on about this, and she mentions a guy named Ed Stairs, and she mentions Daniel Dowd, and she goes into the Daniel Dowd stuff. And she's trying to make it look like I am a protector of people who are pedophiles. And which is something that they do. This is part of her smear campaign. This is, something she's going to say about me. First of all, I'm not involved with the Ed Stairs thing. I don't belong I don't go to the predator catcher groups. I don't belong to them. I don't even know. I know some of the details about Ed Stairs because I've heard it in passing. I have no comment on that. I do not want to be involved in that conversation. Okay. Number two, when it comes to Daniel Dowd, yes, Here's my thought about Daniel Dell. I'll be very specific about it. There was an incident. He's given his side of the story. He pled it down, and it's a misdemeanor. It's not. He has not been convicted of child, abuse or molestation or anything like that. That is not on his record, and it happened many, many years ago. And I do believe, in my opinion, that people like Denise and Thomas, because they want to smear anybody who is, talking about them or criticizing what they're doing on the internet, they want to smear him as if he did something more than what he did. And, people like Daniel Richard Columbus has participated in it, hoax, and, a whole bunch of other LARPers out there in between. And I call them LARPers because I think a lot of this is happening right now. It's really, really, really LARPy for me. Oh, I would say almost like 95% of it feels very LARPy to me today. Okay. And, but I am, what I understand is that I've seen these guys lie about me, take things in my life and amplify them and make them things that they're not. And they don't care about being factual about what they're saying. It is a campaign like Shadowbox, like what, it's a reputation management campaign to smear not only smear their reputation on the internet so they're not employable, which Thomas Schoenberger has threatened and said publicly that he was going to do to me. But it's also meant they actually are going to call your job that you are employed at to make you lose that one too. And that is exactly what Denise is guilty of. And the people participating in that is Titus Frost and Chris McGimsey Jones. And I want to tell you something else about Titus Frost, and I want to say it. He is, he interviewed Thomas, right? But he is implicated in the lawsuit with Laura Dilley. His Twitter account is part of the Twitter analysis on the research of the profiles that disseminated 17 and on information. He has his own personal interest, and he has crypto, which somebody serves on the board of directors with Thomas Schoenberger, who is the person who is doing the lawsuit. It's gross to me. And anybody who can sit back and be okay with that, I got to check your head. Where is your ethics in fair reporting or fair speaking about a situation? Because it doesn't exist from that camp. And it feels like everybody's gearing up right now, like, oh, he got his channel back and all this kind of stuff. And, they think that they're going to establish some claim because the Epstein files are in the conversation, that they're going to come out and throw their narrative into the mix, which was false the whole time in the first place. You want to know what's false about what you guys did? Is that you weaponized it as one political party being guilty for it. And you know what? Your president right now is implicated. So whatever you think you're going to do by drumming up some, Isaac Cappy drama, again, another situation, just like Daniel Dowd, that is never going to be solved, ever. It's just going to be a conspiracy that people like Sean Atwood and other people will feed off for the next fucking 10 years. Mark my words. And it will go nowhere. And if Thomas or whomever wants to play like they're having some sort of lawsuit about it, I seriously doubt any of that is going to be taken seriously anywhere in a court of law. Except wasting our headspace here on YouTube. And now that I've ranted like that with my mic on, I'm going to take a short music break and come back to more Denise Matteau antics. Let me see. There is my profile. Give me my profile. And let's do the Bacteria song. Let's do it. do the bacteria song. Okay, yeah, I'm on the right thing. Yeah, I feel like I just need to clean the palette right now.
There was land on the edge of nowhere, and a voice on a glowing screen said, build it outside the system, said, this is what freedom means. They came with hope in their pockets and stories they wanted to prove. A crowd could feel like a family when everyone believes the same truth. They called it the community, they called it a stand, but a vision gets heavy when it's held in one hand. Welcome to Batterio, a dream meets the ground, where the words sound louder than the silence around. You don't see the fault lines till the camera rolls back. This ain't a promise they sold you, but it's a story after the ad, after what bears in the comments. There were rules.
You know what, Liz? I just saw in the chat, welcome to my stream, that you're asking like what is LARPing? And it is live action role playing. And I find it interesting that you're asking me that question because your buddy, Toffee Coco, really knows what it is. And he's talking about it from 6 years ago. Here we go.
You like that word. You have said that constantly.
I know, dude.
He said, with my LARP. And he says, you like that word. You say it constantly because he does it constantly. Ain't that right, Top Feed?
Because, well, not constantly, but I'm bringing it back, dude. LARP is back. Because there are LARPs afoot. By the way, justice for Top Feed.
Nice.
And hashtag.
So Top Feed Coco is the LARP. That's your LARP name, right? Top Feed Coco, because you're LARPing. You're LARPing are you LARPing about the Bears and Owen and LARPing with Liz and LARPing and LARPing with Hoax, LARPing saying negative things, harassing people on the internet. Okay.
You like that?
That's what LARPing is. LARPing is using a name like Top Feed Coco and then going on and talking shit about people on the internet. That's one aspect of live action role playing. The term really came from like cosplay and stuff like that, where people would dress up in costumes and be something that they're not, or they would do live action role playing on the internet. What he knows what it is, Liz. I'm surprised you don't know that. You want to pretend in my chat like you don't know what that is. Because I'm kind of finding it. I mean, I know I'm being bitchy right now. I'm coming on your show, but I find that really to be. I can't believe it, being that you have pretty much surrounded yourself with LARPers. I'm just saying. Okay, so like what Hoax did and has done, calling himself Hoax. He called himself Hoax Wars for years. Do you know that Daniel Richard Columbus, Hoax, goes all the way back to Frank Bacon? Like, he's been doing this like with All Seeing You for Thomas Schoenberger for a really long time. Okay. So is Denise. Denise was part of Teenage FBI. And people want to act like Denise is just some crazy old lady. She's been on this grift for a really long time. You could say Denise is doing live action role playing, but of course she's being herself. But that's what LARPing is. And here's another thing that I find interesting, because this is what I don't understand I don't understand is like he like Top Feed has been doing this. Top Feed, right? Has been talking about the Bears for 6 years now. And I just what like it was like what this ready-made group came in that you guys all collected together and spun something because
I do want to talk a bit about what I've been seeing on Twitter lately, and that is the fact that blocks are on the rise now. I collect blocks from users who don't want to discuss and would rather just sit around and throw an insult and then hit the block button so you never really see it. But I mean, I've been blocked 6 times in the last 3 days by people that I've engaged with just to have the discussion and be open and honest about it, and they just don't want to hear it, I guess. So
Is that the bear community flooding in?
it's
It's the bear effect.
I don't know.
And I got a tomahawk in my hand.
and so notice that he's mentioning the bear community. So that is Owen Benjamin's community. So this is 6 years ago. I don't know who this guy is. I'm not familiar with this channel or the host, but it's just 6 years ago. So in 2020 he's been talking about the Bears and Owen Benjamin since 2020. Wow, that's commitment. Top Feed, that's commitment. Top Feed could count.
Nice. So yeah, I don't know. It's just
Yeah. So what why? 6 years he's been going on about, I don't like Owen Benjamin, all right, but talking about the Bears and then talking about LARPing 6 years ago. Okay.
Another one, possession of child pornography videos. And they went through a variety of interesting events that allow them both to run free. And there's been a lot of protection, defending, white knighting for these people, particularly for the one who assaulted the 8-year-old girl, by this Hollywood character, Terry Joyce. And Terry Joyce isn't alone. I mean, she's in with this whole...
Okay, you're asking me a question, Liz. You're saying, so they follow a script for a particular outcome, perhaps. What they do is a lot of people will repeat the same defamation about somebody all at once. It's called ritual. There is a term I read. There was an essay that I read about it. They call it like ritual defamation. And it's a tactic of Black PR, Black public relations, or dark public relations. So it's an onslaught. And there's also people that will cyber stalk you, call your job, harass you, whatever. Like, this is the boundary of which Denise has broken with me. So it goes in, like, some of these people go into someone's personal life. It's called cyber stalking. And it's a group of people repeating the same thing. And they say themselves, listen, Top Feed Coco said it himself, LARP. I like LARPing. That's exactly what he's been doing. What's his real name? He's not giving his real name, is he? People who follow people, spy people on other social media, and then talk to them and gather information from them. They may even pretend to be your friend, but they're going to turn on you and use it. Have you never seen anything like that, Liz? I would think you would, being that, because that's kind of like what's been happening with around Owen, right?
Whole contingent of satanics that come out of the so-called Revolution Radio group, the pretend, the fake patriots, the fake Christians, is they're totally satanic, totally into all the sex pornography, child predator stuff, and they gloss it over, call it adult entertainment, try to split hairs on the question of whether or not Dowd is actually guilty of something just because he was able to plead down to a lesser charge, etc. So they can argue about those things, and we wonder why. Why is Terry Joyce, for example, continuously beating that drum? Because it's not doing her wrong.
That was Thomas calling. I'm kidding. Who knows? I mean, she has two phones. She has two government phones. You know, I'm assuming that. I mean, you're only supposed to have one per household, so I don't know how she got two. She must have lied about something. Anyway, yeah.
But I think I finally found out why.
I'll tell you why, Denise, because I know that you've been lying about me, and I know that what you've done to me. And I also know what Denise has done to other people and how she's called adult protective services on people and things like this. Like what she's done to me, she's done to other people. And if I know that she's lying about me, then why wouldn't she be lying about other people? And I think it's wrong. And I think it needs to be pointed out on the internet. And I really think that someone like Denise needs to have, I don't know, restraining orders or legal things happening to her, because she shouldn't get away with it anymore, including Thomas and Titus and everybody else. I think it's time for it to be over for you guys. I think you've come to the end of your rope.
A couple of things happened. I did notice that lately, like within the past week, she has started sprinkling a certain word in her little ramblings. She's using the word gonzo. And it doesn't really attach to anything, but it's recognizable to most people as a reference to, I can't even think of his actual name, this guy that was known for gonzo.
His name is Hunter S. Thompson, and we're going to get into this in just a second.
Journalism, which is
Hunter S. Thompson is the, let me just read it right now, because like I posted this earlier today. And I spent some time putting it together so everybody can understand what gonzo journalism is and not listen to Denise's ignorance of what's happening. But gonzo journalism, all right. Let me, I'll even stop the share here to show you what gonzo journalism is. All right. So Denise can stop with this nonsense. It's going to get real nutty now after I read this. Gonzo journalism, popularized by Hunter S. Thompson, is a first-person reporting style that abandons objectivity, placing the reporter at the center of the action. For example, if I did a news report about Denise Matteau's defamatory video this morning titled "What's Coming Next," I would be in the story because I'm one of the main characters that she's trashing on YouTube. Matteau gave the wrong definition of gonzo journalism in her video. Hopefully she will stop misinforming about the definition. She thinks gonzo journalism specifically involves the use of drugs, and this is incorrect. Hunter S. Thompson used himself in several of his stories, and some of them involved alcohol and drug use. Still, such activity is not necessary for reporting to be considered gonzo journalism. And so that is what gonzo journalism is. And because what's been happening and what I'm talking about with this group of people and the things that they're associated on a larger political level, because I'm in the story, I'm not a reporter coming in from, reporting something, gathering information. So I cannot be there. There's going to be a certain, you're not supposed to, you're supposed to be objective, right? But if you're in the story, it takes away the objectivity of like what's happening because it's happening to the person. But that person's supposed to be reporting what they're doing, has to be truthful, right? It's kind of like creative nonfiction, but not exactly. But it's considered, but it crosses over to creative nonfiction when I'm getting my MFA in right now. So, but Denise is going to make it into something really crazy here. Let's go.
Basically what Terry Joyce does, get drugged up and talk about your drug fantasies about other people and claim you're reporting something. And he made a whole.
So not only is that assessment ignorant, but it's malicious defamation because she's saying that I'm a drug addict. She's criticizing, she's maliciously defaming my character right there with no evidence, simply because I said I was doing gonzo journalism. You see how that works?
Genre out of it, and it was a big deal at the time. I think he came out of the 70s and 80s. Well, Gonzo is in a movie in which the characters, which are himself and one of his buddies, are seen and talking about using adrenochrome. Now, I didn't see the movie. I don't know the rest of the context, how big of a role that scene plays in the rest of the story. I don't know.
This is what she's associating here with me, by the way. Somehow, because I said I did gonzo journalism, that this was gonzo, that I am now associated to adrenochrome. And, there's, a big discussion on whether that's real or not. And I'm not here to discuss that right now because I don't even want to say the name. I'm going to call it chrome for the rest of the stream because that's how volatile the word is, basically. But there's a scene in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas of them having it and using it and saying that it came from a Satanist who molested a child. Okay. That is in Terry Gilliam's version of the book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is considered gonzo journalism. Is probably considered creative nonfiction too, because he is writing about him going on an assignment to tell a story and bringing his drug addict lawyer with him. And this is what they went through. And, I have used that movie as, thinking, when I saw the movie, it makes you think, oh, it's real. If it's not real, why would it be in that movie? Now, to my understanding, there's a discrepancy that it's not in the book. Like, Hunter S. Thompson did not write it in the book. And I'd have to double check again, but I have read things of Terry Gilliam saying that he made a director's choice of including that in the script, but it wasn't really part of what really happened. Now, people speculate, well, is Terry Gilliam saying that as a cover-up to cover up for what the truth of this really is? I don't know. But again, it goes into like that speculative arena that at this point, it doesn't look like we're ever going to come to a conclusion. So we could fight about that rabbit hole forever and never get anywhere. However, this is what she is saying that I'm associated to simply because I said the journalism I'm doing concerning them, Thomas Schellenberger and everybody else, I am in the story of what I'm speaking, podcasting, and writing about. And that is a term of that is called gonzo journalism, and there's no drugs involved with it.
If adrenochrome was a continuous element in that movie, but I do remember seeing clips of the scenes where the gonzo journalist is working on a paper or an article or something, and the other character pulls out a little bottle of something, and it's a drug called adrenochrome, and Gonzo praises it for being the wildest ride you'll ever have and all this other stuff. And I mean, I have no interest in following that stuff, so I didn't bother to watch the movie. But it's an element, okay? It's a small thing. All of a sudden, the wig is dropping the word gonzo into her patter, her little, verbal.
And notice that she calls me a wig when I possess a full head of hair better than hers. Way better. Way better. Wait, what's this, Denise? I mean, I don't wear a wig. That, number one, is a lie. Have I worn a wig before? Yes. Are there videos like 6, 7, 8 years ago of me wearing any type of hair pieces? Yes. But I have not done that in years. Years. Another term she says she made of me, which I don't know who did it first, but Thomas Schoenberger does. Everybody does. Yeah, right?
Stream that she does. Didn't really notice it beyond, she's trying to look like she's trying to fit in with the hipsters, basically. But then something comes across my feed sent by the algorithm. An AI video that it's totally AI. The images in it are just random AI, photo stock stuff like they put together. The voice is AI. It uses the AI narrative form of always going through. Everyone recognizes the pattern by now. It has a certain type of paragraph where it gives you an not this, but that. And then it always lists things in threes. And then it comes up with a question, but what if, da, 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 da. Okay, so it's one of those standard AI slop things. But it's about Aldous Huxley and the doors to perception. And my reason for clicking on it was that it looked like it was going to be about that book.
Okay, so let's talk about the algorithm for a moment. Like in this, she kind of, in some ways, this is how I picked up here because I'm going to play the whole video. I'm responsible for her algorithm for some reason. And, now that she had the doors of perception, and yeah, the band Doors is based on this line by Aldous Huxley. And these are things that happened in the 60s. And, again, you can have a huge discussion on what peyote does or what, shrooms do or whatever. I'm not here to defend any of that, but there's, Terrence McKenna and a whole philosophy of, what some of these plants can do for insight and enlightenment or whatever. And some people have a completely different opinion about it. If something is coming up in your algorithm, Denise, it's because you said it verbally and Siri heard it or whatever, because that happens and that's been happening for a long time. Or it's something that you looked at because you get more of what you see and look at. That's how the algorithm works, and that's how it works from everybody. So this is like kind of conspiratorial nutty right now.
And it does talk about the book, but not very much. It uses the book and the name of Aldous Huxley as clickbait to get into something else. It's talking about the use of peyote, mostly the use of peyote as a door opener, as Aldous Huxley spoke about these things, mescaline. So it does review the contents of the book, but it's just giving the information. Like, it's not telling you what comes out of the book and what's the new AI stuff. It's just using it as a talking point. So I'm listening. And suddenly it says that the only other thing that will give you the effects the same as peyote is adrenochrome. And it talks about adrenochrome briefly without saying where adrenochrome comes from.
And here's another thing that Denise does a lot is that she says, and this said this and this said that, but she doesn't show where her information is, and she doesn't source her information, because when you source information, then you can like intellectually look at it and go, is this credible or not? So she's just like, throwing something out there as if it's some sort of fact, and doesn't support what she says, which is something that she does most of the time.
It just says it's a derivative of the adrenal fluid, right? Well, the derivative, where adrenochrome comes from, is trauma to the human being. And then when blood is taken from the person who's in a state of extreme terror, that person is being abused, tortured. And when blood is taken from that person at that point, the adrenal fluid that's in it provides the adrenochrome, which then somebody else can ingest. Now, this AI film doesn't go into any of that. This AI video just simply mentions that, oh, if you can't get peyote, you can get this stuff, adrenochrome. But, and then it goes back into the peyote mescaline talk, and it's going on, the usual stuff. And I'm thinking,
here's another thing that AI will do, just so you guys know. When you search something, right, and you're searching whatever, AI can give you false positives about things. So you need to really look at what it's saying. She's saying AI says that, but that in itself is not, doesn't make what she's saying. You know, someone should go, okay, well, show me the source. Where did the AI get the link? Why is AI telling you that? You have to fact check AI.
that was odd. It's almost like it's normalizing adrenochrome into, like, now if I was to come across it on a label, I'd say, oh, this is an alternative to peyote. I can't get peyote, but I can take this. That's what I'm thinking. Then towards the end of the video,
You really shouldn't think sometimes, Denise.
the AI has worked itself up into talking about how human beings, you know, it mentions that many artists and other people doing artwork and poetry and such creative work do achieve a level of awareness when you're in the zone. And as an artist, I've practiced Zen art. When you're in the zone with that kind of meditative art practice, you can experience the visual awareness and awakening that is supposedly, I say supposedly because I never took peyote, so I don't know, but what they describe and what this AI is describing as being the product of use of peyote.
And here's another thing that, you know, there's a pattern, and David does it too. They go off and they ramble about something, and then they bring it back around to the person that they're targeting. She wraps it around in the conversation.
The AI discounts the existence of a non-drug path, human path to such awareness. It's acting as if people need this awakening and can't get it unless they take something. It talks about peyote being non-addictive. People who use it don't feel a craving when they're not using. It doesn't produce difficult behavior, violence, delusions, or anything. You experience the awakening of awareness and you go on with your life, and it presents it as a good thing, and I believe that's accurate. I have no reason not to believe that. So that's fine, but then all of a sudden it inserts the idea that not only should people be doing this, taking this chemical path to awareness, but should be compelled to. It may be compulsory, compelled use. Now, like, what? And then it goes on to conclude the video. And I'm thinking, now let me find it here so I can tell you what channel it's on. I know I always forget to put the links in, so I'm just at least try to give you the.
You never put links in, Denise. I mean, let's see. Did she put a link on this a video? Because she did this 23 hours ago. Let me see. Transcript. Nope, no link. You ain't got no link on this, Denise. You didn't follow through. Okay. Let's see. Let's maybe. Oh yeah. Let's let the words come across here.
Verbal path to the right video. Let's see. Okay, here it is.
You're saying like loosh, you know, like you guys are talking about lush or loosh. My understanding, loosh is feeding off of negative energy that you generate in other people, or that just happens in general. Like there are people or entities that feed off or create out of the negativity that they do to others, the harm that they cause others. They create from that point, which is sad because it doesn't come from themselves.
Sorry about the ad. Just a second. There.
It was in 1886 that the
Okay, there it is.
So it's a YouTube video. Okay. So this is her source.
It's on in Infinity Wisdom 53. That's the channel. That's Huxley, Aldous Huxley, The Doors of Perception.
Okay, this is the Aldous Huxley part. Okay.
I was thinking it was an audio book, but it's not. It's just it has a cover of the book and it has the title. But it's an AI going into this discussion that I just described.
I don't think that the Chrome is part of that book, Denise. I mean, matter of fact, I'm gonna search that up.
I'm thinking, well, that's interesting because the AI shoves things out, and we've got these discords of not the Gnostics, the chaos magician people that are pushing stuff out, and a lot of it, the chaos magician people being the people behind Terry Joyce. Terry Joyce is not one of these chaos sorceress people. She's too stupid. She's a useful idiot. And she's in the flow and discussion groups where the stuff is being managed.
Yeah, I don't belong to discussion groups, Denise. I think maybe that's what you are, really. And I love how she has to put in that I'm an idiot. Well, you know what's idiotic, Denise, is not knowing the real definition of gonzo journalism and pulling this shit. That's ignorant. That's ignorance. Or, you sound idiotic. Let's just put it that way.
By the people who hold the strings, the Mossadian. That's why she's so big on anti-Semitism, because it's a Mossadian cult. And the AI is more than that, because we can blame Israel and Mossad for what's being visited upon the United States, although we have to take responsibility and say, a lot of this will be.
Okay. Actually, believe it or not, I looked it up. Okay. And this is according to AI Overview, and their link is Wikipedia. So make what you will on that. This is really pretty interesting. Oh, and there's also Wired, and the infamous Doors of Perception, written after the first adrenochrome studies. Huxley described adrenochrome as being, what is Wired magazine? Let me figure out, okay, Wired. Wow, this might be real, actually. It's future forward journalism, navigate real world AI impacts. Wired magazine is an American magazine published every 2 months that focuses on how emerging technologies affect culture. All right, so yeah, he does mention it. Okay, so it says, okay, here, let me do this. We learn something new every day, right? But I have no association to this, Denise, because I said I'm doing gonzo journalism. There's no correlation between me and this, because I said that writing about me in the story makes me a user of this. Okay. Yes, Aldous Huxley mentions adrenochrome in the 1954 book, The Doors of Perception. He discusses it in the context of being a potential naturally occurring substance in the human body that, when oxidized, could produce effects similar to mescaline, although he did not consume it himself during his experience. Huxley notes that adrenochrome, a derivative of adrenaline, was hypothesized. It was hypothesized, okay, to cause symptoms similar to schizophrenia. Connection. He links this along with cerebral toxins to his exploration of how chemical changes can produce profound alterations in consciousness. The book primarily details his experience with mescaline, but adrenochrome was mentioned as part of the research and theoretical discussion on chemical-induced mystical states. And in Wired magazine, let's look at this for a second. I hope you guys will humor me for a moment in this. Okay, yeah, you can see it. Wired magazine says that the dark virility of Hollywood blood harvesting conspiracy, a centuries-old anti-Semitic myth, is spreading freely on far-right corners of social media, suggesting a new digital dark age has arrived. And this was written July 31st. 28? That can be 26. I don't know. The Dark Ages were rife with plague, fanaticism, and accusations that Jews secretly fed off the blood of children. In 2020, we too are beset with plague, rampant medical misinformation, and persistent rumor that global elites torture children to harvest the chemical adrenochrome from. Well, they want me to start a free trial to do this. I wonder if this will go. No, I have to do a free trial. No, I don't want to do a free trial. Anyway, you get the gist. Okay, you get the gist of where that's. I'm surprised that they're going, okay, so that's specifically anti-Semitic. This should be something that deserves more research. This is interesting. Maybe not my rabbit hole will do a deep dive into this particular topic, because there's more. A while back, there was less validity on this. And, if you said something, you would be in trouble. And, I've gotten criticized for talking about it outwardly, but actually, I had a very public discourse over it with Lestat over this topic. And I was saying, I was on the side that it was real, okay? And he was on the side that it wasn't. And so, but then we have Denise doing it, and then I thought, well, maybe it's not, anyway. Again, I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's go. All right. Let's continue with Denise.
On ourselves. But which came first? Mossad or the AI? I mean, yeah, Mossad's been there for years, but this whole thing with the AI, it could be Israel, and it probably is Israel using AI to now insert very surreptitiously two things. One is that adrenochrome is just another drug in the mix of things you could take for certain reasons. The other thing is you should be compelled to take a drug whose only purpose is to give you these wonderful visions of the true nature of reality, which, most people don't need. See, this is the other thing about these AI and internet things about everyone needs it. No, in human society, since time immemorial, the shaman has been one person, the odd guy in the tribe or woman. If you had a group of shamans, usually those were individuals all coming together for a convention, but then going back to their communities full of ordinary people who accepted the visions from the shaman because they could get their work done and still benefit from the visions by having a trusted shaman, priest, spiritual leader, medicine man, whatever you want to call him. It was never considered that every human being in society is supposed to have these kinds of prophetic, inner, deep visions. But the AI is just automatically presenting that that's what it's supposed to be. And of course, that part of the problem is when you get people who really don't have what it takes to handle that kind of thing, that's where you get the problems. That's the kind of person who can't tell the difference between the inner visual thing of a peyote trip and the wild behavior of a good drunk. You know, they just got to lose.
And what a good drunk, like that's an interesting phrase, like the wild behavior of a good drunk. Like, is there a good drunk and a bad drunk? I mean, I suppose so, but it's like the way it's almost like she's legitimate. Not, it's not like a drunk, which is, you know, people that drink can be violent and vicious and destructive and cause car accidents and death and everything else. So I just find that her analogy of the good drunk is hypocritical.
I think they're both the same, and that's, you know, drug addicts on heroin. You know, they're not. There are some people who just can't do it. They can't discern that, you know, I shouldn't be taking this particular thing. I shouldn't be doing this because I don't need to, you know, there's no reason for it.
The problem is like, I mean, she sounds logical, right? I mean, yeah, you know, like she's making sense on this topic, but she's basically calling me that drug addict. So she's telling people that I do drugs as defamation and rationalize it for God knows how long.
People who take drugs because they're told to, rather than because they have any inner desire to experience this trip that they're on. And this, of course, is what's being promoted now, that you should be compelled. It's the same thing that's going on that people like the Wig and these others are pushing on children.
So now I'm pushing this on children. Like, you realize she just said that. No proof, no nothing. I'm the Wig is I'm pushing drug culture on children. That's exactly what she said. That's how these guys work. That's how Denise works. She'll ramble about something, it'll sound like it makes sense, blah 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 blah, and then she'll associate somebody who's innocent with what she's talking about, and she does not give any proof of that. It's complete slander and malicious defamation on her YouTube channel.
Whole 57 genders thing. Children who don't have any concerns about sexuality, who are comfortable.
Now I'm involved with their sexuality and transgenderism. I've no involvement of this with anybody. I'm not pushing any view on anybody. Okay? But this is what she's saying about me within the last 24 hours here on YouTube. It's going to get worse.
Bodies. But they have to be compelled to ask questions and explore things that the adults in their lives, the public school teachers and similar adults, filthy adults like the Wig, are telling them.
I'm a filthy adult. See, that's what she's saying on her YouTube channel. I'm polluting the youth of America is basically what she's telling people.
Need to explore these.
Gross. It's just gross.
Things. And if they were left alone.
And she's been doing this for a long time, going back to Teenage FBI with Frank Bacon. Denise has been on this grift. She's been on the Thomas Schellenberger defamation campaign for years before she even knew my name.
Just do their thing as kids. Most of them don't start to explore things like that until they're a little older and it's time, and then you let them go at their own pace. Answer their questions when they ask them, but don't tell them to ask the questions before. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so this explains it. This, there's going to be a way.
It explains nothing, Denise. None of it.
Now, and I think everyone should think about this. The wig isn't the only one suddenly bringing.
The wig isn't the only one. So I'm guilty of something that a bunch of other guilty people are. Wait until you hear what it is.
The word gonzo out like a little buzzword, just here and there, so that it enters the back of the mind. And then when you encounter it in a more serious context, it's, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. I'm okay with that's cool. I'm cool with that. And then you go on to accept a little more. The same thing that the AI did in this AI video of Aldous Huxley by inserting adrenochrome as a simple, a little slight aside, mentioned it, then moved back into the question of peyote and the other stuff. And then comes around to compelling people to use it. I think we are going to see, and okay, there's another thing that the wig is doing.
Oh, here
She's got this stuff up. I'm waiting for them to say it's a fake news prank of some kind. Up in Michigan, what looks to be some actual government agencies have decided
the really bad stuff's still coming with. She's going to go on the cicada stuff here.
To name a virus, another flu virus of some kind. Name it the cicada virus. And of course, everyone's kind of laughing about it. But this, go back to the beginning of all these YouTube feuds, okay? You've had these two things running side by side. Thomas Schellenberger and the others have been accused of, and they've been guilty of, throwing the P word around, pedo,
oh yeah, they
followed
are
by file.
Uh-huh.
The reason I'm saying it that way is the algorithm is getting pretty tricky these days.
Oh,
They've been throwing that word around.
you already
like
threw it
it's
around
the same as calling
today.
somebody a stupid jerk, you know. And Thomas Schellenberger kind of went in some of the discussions of getting him out of that cult, because he did get out of it. You know, he said, yeah, you know, I called him that because he called me that. And it's like, that's it. That's putting it down to the level of a schoolyard.
I've never called Thomas Schellenberger a pedo, Denise. So what's his excuse?
Name calling fight, but it's a serious
I've never falsely accused anybody of being a pedo.
crime. And it normalizes, even though you're using it to say that person's bad, you're actually diluting the badness, the evilness of the concept, because you're reducing it to the level of saying that person's a stupid jerk. And so the whole Cicada group has been doing that, but so has especially Sewertown and the Wig. They haven't been calling people that name. They've been defending people who actually have faced charges, not people who simply got involved in arguments in YouTube, but actual involvement with the crime itself. And they are putting them forward, these people forward, as martyrs to their cause. Well, what is their cause? And now the same PSYOP, highly sophisticated psychological operation, connected to the QAnon sex thing, that, by the way, that archive of my videos, if people can get there and see them, go for it. Except that
That's
It
not
was-
the point, Denise. It's the point that they saved your videos and your false defamation and your harassment of my employment on their website while they were harassing me with you, which means they're part of it. That's the point. It doesn't matter if people can go there and get it or not.
malware dropped into my system from going there, and I can't even get a look at them because that little SOB, Chris McGimsey Jones, stole those by telling me he was setting up an archive.
No, that is not correct. And there has been footage online, Denise, of you being upset that you couldn't access them because you were expecting him to archive it and have available for you. I've seen the video, Denise.
For me, did not say where it was going to be. I asked him about setting up an alternative YouTube channel. So those videos would have remained in YouTube. Many people do this. But he didn't do that. Instead, he put them that way.
Here's my question about him having access to all of your videos, Denise. This is my question, okay? And I think this is a good question to have for Denise or for Chris McGimsey Jones or for QAnon Sec or Titus Frost, Mr. Frosty. How was he downloading every video of yours in preparation for you losing your channel in the first place? Because like if your channel just goes down, because of whatever, then they wouldn't have had the opportunity to save your videos. But why did they save your videos in the first place as if your channel would go down? They purposely backed your material up. Why is that, Denise? That is some forethought. There's forethought there behind that.
Then he sent me a threat. And when I went to look at them, bingo, I got hit with malware. I don't know if he's got it set up so that he could send the malware to somebody at his will, or if anybody who visits gets the malware. I don't know what he's doing exactly. I just know that, yeah, I got played. And I'm not ashamed of it because everyone's been played one way or another. I step in the dog do, I wipe my shoe off and keep on walking. Anyway.
But I thought I was going to get to this one part a lot quicker than this. Let me look at the transcript again because this is really important to show. This is really important. Let me see. She goes on. Goes on more about adrenochrome, Aldous-Huxley connection. Don't worry about that. She talks about Canada. On and on and on. More Thomas Schoenberger. Something about the Antichrist. Council journalism. Terminator AI. Simulacam. Compulsory drug tripping. God, where is it? There's something where she talks about my association to Israel. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Let's go right here. It's going to come up around in here.
Bringing people together who are able to think about coding and stuff like that. And a lot of it was innocent, but some of it wasn't. And Thomas Schoenberg was just one individual. He stepped away from the satanic cult that's running the thing. He's trying to take at least part of that cult down with his lawsuits up there in Michigan, and God bless him. I hope he succeeds. But this other thing, the war is going to go on. Whether his lawsuit succeeds or not, this war is going to continue. This is the war, the deepest level of good and evil, because these people that have set themselves up in Israel with the Third Temple Antichrist cult and the No Kings demonstrations that are going on everywhere, calling Trump the Antichrist. These people at the No Kings rally are too stupid to realize if you're using religious terms to talk about politics, you've entered a religious cult. You're not talking politics anymore. You've entered a religious cult. And this mixture, the AI is happily mixing all of it together. Now the AI has no inner life. Even if it has achieved,
Oh God, why can't I find it? There was something where she really goes into Israel, and she calls it. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. Okay, it's right after the malware part. I should have just stayed a little bit longer. Here it is. Here it is.
will, or if anybody who at all who visits gets the malware. I don't know what he's doing exactly. I just know that, yeah, I got played. And I'm not ashamed of it because everyone's been played one way or another. I step in the dog do, I wipe my shoe off and keep on walking. Anyway, I think this is what we're seeing. We're seeing that Israel, Mossad, is running another level of drug warfare on the American population and actually the world's population, because these things are all over the world. And the Aldous Huxley connection is probably going to get a lot of people in the UK involved. Um, but it is basically the Israeli attack on the human race, that is going to involve that buzzword gonzo, part of the marketing. You're going to see that in the positive marketing side of the adrenochrome. The adrenochrome is being disconnected from its actual source as a product of human torture. And compulsion is probably going to come in with the connection to cicada in the this group up in Michigan, which, Michigan is one of those states that has, like, there's a little bit of a spearhead of what the Democrats are up to, because Michigan is basically a province of communist China, and it's the weak point between the United States and Canada as far as infiltration invasion is concerned. The Ambassador Bridge in Detroit. Um, so we see a lot of that going on there. But in general, I think what people need to look for and notice is where this is coming from, and don't fall for it. Don't worry about having these magnificent visions, which are not all they're cracked up to be, through drugs. If you feel compelled to explore
So anyway, and she goes on, there's a couple other places where she mentions Israel and why and where she blames me, she says I'm Mossadian or something like this. And which is similar to the post from Blazing Scar that she shares, that she tags Liz Crokin in back when I was exposing the white nationalist that David Schroeder was using as a source against Gabe Hoffman. But apparently a white nationalist is used to prove that he's a neo-Nazi pedophile, according to David Schroeder, which is, crazy. And Denise has been caught up in this anti-Semitism, and yet when she brings this in, and you saw the Wired magazine, right? There's this crossover of Israel being involved in all of this and everything. And you know what? When I point out people for being anti-Semitist or whatever, or being racist, is because I think hate needs to be off of YouTube. That it's hateful to demonize one group of other human beings. It's a they-them mentality, and it will never solve any wars or any conflict. To say that an entire group of people are guilty collectively of something is simply not true. And it's something that I thought here in our judicial system and the way we've evolved, or what our beliefs are in the United States, that we've done away with that, with slavery and with oppression of other people in India or whatever. We've become not tolerant of people who are involved with genocide. And when you sit back and my criticism of certain channels doesn't have anything to do with Gabe Hoffman, doesn't have anything to do with any of you guys' belief systems out there in whatever group that you think I belong to or that you're associated with or whatever. These are my belief systems. I'm caught talking about Owen Benjamin, another comedian like myself, is perpetuating racist anti-Semitism and misogyny and disrespect against women. And he even going so far is that we don't have any logos, meaning that we're not connected to God like a man does, and we have to go through a man to get right with our with God, which means that we are a less spiritual being in his eyes. And I vehemently disagree with that. These are the reasons why I am anti-Semitic or anti-hate or anti-racist. And these particular attitudes permeate in our politics, in the very media, and the conspiracies that have been perpetuated by a lot of the players right now. A lot of the players that are talking about Isaac Happy's death, and a lot of the media outlets, including the alternative media, including the UFO media, including the super soldier people, have perpetuated racist ideology on the internet and have cyber stalked and harassed the people that call them out for that. And that would be me. Okay? So let it be known, everybody, that this is my stance, and what Not My Rabbit Hole is about is talking about this in the digital subculture on the internet. That's what Not My Rabbit Hole does, and that's what Not My Rabbit Hole is going to continue to do. And if you stand behind me, or you're part of this philosophy, or you just fucking hate me, like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you all next time.
He ain't no Saint Germain, no crown, no name. He plays the game sharp as a flame. Who's to blame for the stolen fame? A shadow dance in the devil's frame. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on a stripper pole. Laughing loud, all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. City lights and sirens scream, truth and lies blend like a dream. Wicked smiles, a clever scheme, chasing gold in the neon gleam. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby that's not my rabbit hole. Falling fast, can't find the ground. Echoes of chaos all around. You chose this dance, this mad parade, but not every choice gets accolades. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby that's not my rabbit hole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby that's not my rabbit hole. City lights and sirens scream, truth and lies blend like a dream. Wicked smiles, a clever scheme, chasing gold in the neon gleam. Going down the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby that's not my rabbit hole.
To respond when provoked. You're supposed to defend when attacked. You're supposed to engage when challenged. You're supposed to care when they perform. But you don't. You just don't. And every day you don't respond is another day their reality cracks a little more. Every week you stay silent is another week they question everything they thought they knew about power, about attention, about control. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening in their world right now. Behind the scenes, in the group chats you're not in the conversations you're not part of. They're obsessed, fully, completely, unhealthily obsessed with you. They talk about you more than they talk about their own goals. They check your profiles more than they check their own analytics. They wonder about your next move more than they plan their own. You have become the main character in their mental movie, and they hate it. They absolutely despise it, but they can't stop. They can't look away. Because somewhere deep in their psychology, they know that you represent something they're not.
I'm going to answer this question for Seren. Like, do I support the murder of children of Israel? I don't support the murder of any children. I don't care what country it's doing. But, you know, I need to see evidence that that's actually, you know, I would say, are they murdering the children in Palestine? Yeah. And I don't approve of it. Are they murdering children? So is the United States. So is a lot of people doing that. So no, I don't think that anti-Semitism of all Jewish people is justified on a question like that, Seren. Also, again, you're asking me this question. You know, just because I don't like the fact that people are, you know, Denise is associating me in her anti-Semitic remarks. I don't think that is solving anything. I don't think it's solving anything here. I don't. And, you know, just to assume because like someone like Gabe Hoffman is Jewish, that he's obviously siding. You're saying all Jewish people are guilty of this in the entire planet? I find that to be very short-sighted and narrow-minded and pretty scary, if you ask me.
Disciplined, focused, unbothered, ascending, and that knowledge is eating them alive from the inside out, like termites in the foundation of their ego. The meltdowns you're witnessing, the public breakdowns, the emotional explosions, those aren't random. Those are the visible symptoms of an internal collapse. They built their entire sense of power.
Let's talk about Trump for a second and like the war that we're in and how Israel's involved. And, you know, am I happy about it? No, I'm not. Okay. I'm not happy about this. All right. I'm not happy about what's happening to the people in Palestine. I'm not happy about a lot of things. But being a racist on the internet and making, remember what happened in World War II when Japan was hit in Pearl Harbor, and people put the Japanese people in American camps, and persecuted them, but the people, the American Japanese in the United States, weren't guilty of what happened with their country that they came from then, or what their race is from. They weren't guilty of that. They weren't so when you sit back and you want to blame an entire race of people, guilt, because of a country that they migrated to, which was Palestine, became Israel, I think is really scary. I'll just leave it at that.
On one foundation, the ability to get reactions, to provoke responses, to control narratives through emotional manipulation. But
and one more thing. With the European Union, when it came, 4 out of the 5 criteria of genocide against Palestine was approved by the European Union as being they decided that that's what it was. It's not going into the legal part. That's a whole nother process to make action happen. But you know what country did not support that? Did not support and did not agree with that 4 out of the 5 criteria of genocide was taking place was the United States. So, you know what, everybody, give your own self a pat on the back, because that's not okay either. So don't sit back and talk about how, they're the bad guy when our country won't even take care of what is happening.
You pulled the rug out from under that entire structure by simply not participating. You became unreachable, not because you blocked them everywhere, but because you blocked them mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You performed the ultimate power move. You made them irrelevant without saying a single word. You didn't defeat them in combat. You removed them from combat by fighting wars they didn't even know existed. And now they're shadowboxing, throwing punches at ghosts, screaming at echoes, having full conversations with versions of you that don't exist anymore. You want to know what world domination actually looks like in real life? Not in movies, not in fantasy, but in the actual trenches of ambition? It looks exactly like what you're doing right now. It looks like somebody building systems while others build arguments. It looks like somebody stacking skills while others stack grudges. It looks like somebody investing in assets while others invest in drama. It looks like somebody who understands that attention is currency, and they've decided to be a miser with it, hoarding every second, every ounce of focus, every drop of mental energy for projects that compound.